Good afternoon and welcome back to another session on my Declassified Caribbean. Now, the title of our video this afternoon is Ebola, AI, and the Rise of the Caribbean Surveillance State. Is the Caribbean quietly becoming a testing ground for AI-driven surveillance, digital control, and emergency governance? As fears surrounding Ebola and future pandemics grow, governments across the world are expanding surveillance powers in the name of public safety. But what happens when artificial intelligence, biometric tracking, digital IDs, facial recognition, and predictive policing enter Caribbean society? In this video, we examine how pandemics can accelerate government control, the rise of AI surveillance systems worldwide, digital colonialism in the Caribbean, foreign influence over Caribbean security infrastructure, the dangers of trading liberty for security, whether the Caribbean is moving toward a permanent surveillance state. Are these technologies protecting citizens or preparing the region for a new era of control? This discussion connects geopolitics, technology, public health, and Caribbean sovereignty in a way mainstream media rarely addresses. So make sure that you like and you share and you subscribe. What if the next major health crisis does not change how we travel, but how we live, think, and move throughout society? What if the Caribbean is quietly entering an age where artificial intelligence, biometric surveillance, facial recognition, and emergency powers become permanent parts of daily life? And what if fear of pandemics like Ebola becomes the justification for it all? This afternoon, we explore a disturbing question. Is the Caribbean slowly becoming a surveillance state? Welcome back to the Declassified Caribbean. Across the world, governments are rapidly expanding their digital capabilities. Artificial intelligence is no longer just about chatbots or social media algorithms. It is now deeply connected to policing, border security, banking systems, public health, immigration, and even political control. And while many Caribbean people assume these developments are happening over there in China, Europe, or the United States, the reality is that the Caribbean is increasingly being pulled into the same system. A system where every crisis becomes an opportunity for greater monitoring, greater data collection, and greater centralized control. Historically, governments gained the most power during periods of fear, war, terrorism, natural disasters, economic collapse, pandemics. So when people are afraid, they are more willing to surrender freedoms in exchange for security. We saw this globally during the COVID-19 pandemic. Emergency powers expanded overnight, travel restrictions became normalized, digital health passes appeared, mass tracking systems emerged, governments and corporations suddenly had enormous influence over movement, speech, and economic participation. Now, imagine a future outbreak with a disease perceived to even be more frightening than COVID-19, something like Ebola. The psychological impact alone could transform public behavior overnight. And in that atmosphere, governments could argue for AI-powered contact tracing, facial recognition checkpoints, mandatory digital IDs, health-based movement restrictions, expanded surveillance infrastructure, all in the name of public safety. Artificial intelligence changes surveillance completely. And in the past, governments needed thousands of people to monitor populations. Today, AI can analyze phone data, financial transactions, social media behavior, facial expressions, travel patterns, online speech, voice recordings, all in real time. This is why many experts warn that AI may become the most powerful surveillance tool in human history. And here is the critical point. The Caribbean does not develop most of this technology itself. Much of it comes from foreign corporations, foreign governments, and international institutions. So that means the region risks becoming dependent on outside technological systems that it does not fully control. And dependence creates vulnerability. Many Caribbean nations already rely heavily on foreign technology infrastructure, cloud systems, telecommunications, banking software, security partnerships, digital identification programs. But who owns the data? Data, some people suggest. Who controls the servers? Who writes the algorithms? Who determines how information is used? This is where the idea of digital colonialism enters the conversation. In the old colonial era, foreign powers extracted physical resources, gold, sugar, labor, and land. In the digital age, the most valuable resource may be data. Human behavior itself becomes the commodity. The Caribbean could eventually find itself in a situation where foreign entities possess enormous amounts of information on Caribbean citizens. And that is what is happening even now. Financial habits, political opinions, movement patterns, health records, and communication networks. And I'm on YouTube, for example, and the algorithm follows what I'm talking about and has stored all of the transcripts of all my videos. And once that infrastructure exists, it rarely disappears. One of the biggest dangers is normalization. People gradually adapt. At first, surveillance feels temporary. Then it becomes routine. Then questioning it becomes suspicious. Cameras become normal. Digital tracking becomes normal. AI moderation becomes normal. Online monitoring becomes normal. Eventually, entire generations grew up believing constant surveillance is simply part of life, is what happens in China. And many people will support it because they associate surveillance with safety. If you have nothing to hide, why worry? Some people will say. But history teaches us an important lesson. Any power given to governments during crises can later be abused politically, especially in small societies where political tribalism already exists. Imagine highly advanced AI surveillance systems in politically polarized environments. That should concern everyone, regardless of political party. Now, to be fair, technology itself is not evil. AI can improve healthcare, detect crime, assist disaster response, improve transportation systems, modernize governments. The issue is not technology alone, because technology is a tool. Just like people are talking about, the issue is patois versus English language in the context of Jamaica. It has nothing to do with English versus patois, because English or any language is just a tool. It's what we use the tool to do that determines whether we are colonized or not. Very important that you understand that. The issue is who controls it, who regulates it, who benefits from it, and what safeguards exist to protect ordinary citizens. And it's interesting that we don't have these conversations, but we want to have conversations about black and white and all of these things. And these things are also, we're not talking about digital enslavement and digital colonization. We are part of that infrastructure, a part of that ecosystem, but we just look at these things and think that they are okay. And all we do, we go back and we harp on history, and we don't see in the present iteration of history, whatever is happening now is going to re-enslave us. Already we are enslaved by these systems. If people don't know anything about other than what they read online or what they listen to online. Because once societies build massive surveillance systems, dismantling them becomes extremely difficult. The Caribbean now stands at a crossroads. Will the region modernize while protecting civil liberties, or will fear, dependency, and foreign influence push Caribbean societies toward a future of permanent digital monitoring? That is the real question. We are entering an era where technology, geopolitics, Public health and state power are merging together in ways humanity has never experienced before. And small regions like the Caribbean may feel these pressures even more intensely because of economic dependency and geopolitical vulnerability. So, as AI expands, as governments digitize, and as future crises emerge, Caribbean people must begin asking difficult questions now before the infrastructure of control becomes irreversible. Because history shows that freedoms are rarely taken all at once, they disappear gradually, one crisis at a time. If you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe, share the video, and leave your thoughts below. Would you accept AI surveillance in exchange for security, or do you believe the Caribbean is heading toward a dangerous future? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Okay, like to hear from you, your thoughts on this very important topic. Ciao.